Now, being repetitive for you as a leader is the hardest thing for most of you to do, because you're like, I just learned something new. I'm going to bring in this new thing. And that will create confusion and upheaval and a loss of traction in what your members are actually working on. So do not, and I underline not, create complexity in your club.
You are the well-being wisdom warrior, the heartfelt healer,
the luminary leader,
the health harbinger,
the shaman, the witch, the guru,
the guide of humanity to an embodied, enlightened future.
Welcome to the Well Pro Show, the podcast for wellness pros,
where your wellness lifestyle is your core leadership strategy.
Experience the camaraderie of collaborative colleagues,
where your job as a wellness pro is to guide the transformation.
You are the resistance, the future, the way forward.
You are the community counselor, the change maker.
The Well Pro Show, brought to you by futurist thought leader Kate Stillman and the team at Wellness Pro Academy. Made for you, by us.
Hey, this is Kate Stillman with Wellness Pro Academy. And in this episode today, I'm just actually going to pull a clip of what is going on the inside of Wellness Pro Academy. I give a teaching on keeping your offer simple and repetitive, and why that works for transformation over time, both for you and for everyone you're working with. And also the sales process, like how to actually go from offer to sales. Many of you know we have your best offer ever going on right now. And what is your best offer ever? It's a course where it's actually a coaching plus a little bit of course, but it's mostly one-on-one coaching with my team at Wellness Pro Academy with you, so that you can create your best offering, your best wellness offering ever in 2024. Now, I know many of you have been listening to me for over a decade, and your offer does keep getting better. It's going to get a heck of a lot better if you take our little training package here. So there's info on that in the show notes. Go to wellnesspro.academy/offer if you're interested. And you can use a test group coupon. Yeah. If you're listening to this podcast and you've wanted to be in Wellness Pro forever, use test group. And I think you get it free. I'm only going to say this once on here. Yeah, because my team's going to kill me. All right. So on to how do you actually take all your amazing wellness skills and all the things that you do with your patients or your clients or your students, and how do you package that into an offer, and then how do you sell it? That's what we're going to get into in this episode of Wellness Pro, the Well Pro Show.
Every time I get out of a meeting, I learn something. I get something from somebody. So thank you, everybody. You guys are teaching me, and an idea will pop out, or somebody's doing something, and it resonates with me.
Yeah.
And I kind of follow it to see where it leads. So it's a great process.
Yeah. Good. And I just want to speak to repetition with that. I just coached Club Thrive before jumping in here, and Body Thrive preceded Club Thrive, which I started in 2013. And the repetition, just being willing to be repetitive on what works it's so helpful, because people hear it again in a new way. Like they hear something and they're not doing it, and they're out of integrity with where they want to be and what they want to be doing. And it's just so helpful. So often what I have found what works, I just put quite a bit of time in the last 2 weeks in the next 6 months of Club Thrive, and really designed from the topics to our workbook pages to talking points for the next 6 months of mentor calls, exactly what we're doing. And something that really jumped out to me is we had to go over to some of the old Body Thrive curriculum that we needed to bring back into Club Thrive. And I spent quite a bit of time looking at the old Body Thrive curriculum of the 10 habits. And something that really stood out to me is that we taught that curriculum for a decade, every quarter, 10 habits for a decade. And it got old for me, but it really didn't get old for the members, especially the new members that were only in their first or second year of Body Thrive. And when I looked at it, one of the hardest things that we're having in Club Thrive is that it's a very complex curriculum. It's much more complex than Body Thrive. And so the challenge for me is making it more of an easy system to follow because it's not easy. It's like, it's got Ayurveda, it's got the Body Thrive habits, and it's got Master of You. It's got what we call future you strategy. It's a lot, but it's a lot because I'm complicated. Life is complicated, and it's as streamlined as I could get it. But when I look back at what was so simple to run as a leader with Body Thrive, it was repetitive and repetitive and repetitive. And that allowed people to have breakthroughs and get grounded and know what they were doing. And it allowed them to know exactly what we were working on that week, whether or not they were new to the community or not. So like that pattern to me and one of the things someone asked me about John Friend this past week, who I studied Anusara with for years, was certified, spent a lot of time with. And what I got from John was how to build a simple system. Right? Because every Anusara yoga teacher taught exactly the same way. Like we brought individuality towards it, but the system was the system. And you were either certified because you knew the system inside out and have proven that you could teach exactly that system, right? And brought your own heart and your own individuality into that simple system. And you proved you could uphold, that's the word for Dharma, and Dhatu is to uphold the system. And if you could uphold the system, you get certified. Now, if it's too complicated what we're trying to do in our club, our members will be confused. And in Body Thrive, no one was ever confused. No one was confused. It was like early or later dinner, early to bed, start the day right, breath body practices, plant-based diet, sitting in silence, self-massage, healthy eating guidelines, come to your senses, easeful living, 10 habits. 10 habits every quarter for 13 years. Yeah, or something like that. Right? And so, thank you, Hillary. I love the visual. I love it. But that's one of the things that I'm struggling with Club Thrive. And we've seemed to have crossed a threshold with me just being willing to put in a ton of intellectual energy and simplify it as much as I possibly can so that we can do both body habits and strategic life design, which is, and it's a lot, but it seems like, well, we'll see in the next 6 months. We'll see what happens. Our members have had huge breakthroughs in Club Thrive this past year. Part of that is because we do 2 challenges and 2 detoxes. We do them around equinoxes and solstices, and that anchors breakthroughs for the year. So right now it's like the dates are set. These are our detoxes. One's in these weeks in April, the other these weeks in October. Here's our primal habits challenges. These are the dates in June. Summer solstice, these are our dates in winter solstice. And those are the anchors. So if anyone gets off track, they're only going to get off track until the next anchor, right? Until the community is going through the next process together. Now, being repetitive for you as a leader is the hardest thing for most of you to do because you're like, I just learned something new. I'm going to bring in this new thing. And that will create confusion and upheaval and a loss of traction in what your members are actually working on. So do not, and I underline not, create complexity in your club. Keep coming back to the basics and people will have breakthroughs. So don't worry, Ted, about getting all the this and the that and all that. Like keep it simple until you know what they're going to need next because they'll be asking for it. And that's really what I find. Do not overbuild. Do not overbuild your clubs. Do not overbuild your core competencies. Like the KISS method of keep it simple, stupid will lead to the biggest, most profound breakthroughs. So I hope that helps. I know I'm sounding a little stern on this because I want you guys to not have to learn the same lessons that I've learned. And that repetition is so helpful. So helpful. Yeah. Okay. Juliana and then Rachel.
I'm here. Sorry, it's taking a minute.
It's okay. Hi.
Hi. I'm taking a baby on a walk. I'm multitasking. And that's my brag is that my first call is tonight. I made no big deal of it. I have 2 members that are paid. I have another friend who I'm just letting drop in and I'm just getting the thing going because I know by getting the thing going, creating the office space will kind of be pushed along and all the things like it'll create the structure.
Yeah.
And I have a tendency toward perfectionism and the stars need to be aligned this way and that. And it's just this like realizing I now have this grace of just like roll with it. And yeah, and I've been through the repetitiveness of your course enough times and I've like taken all these steps that were so new to me years ago.
Yeah.
And now like so many of the things that were the holdup then are like not even a thing now. And I can brag and I can see my gains, and I'm so aware of I have like deeply embedded gap thinking, and that's my problem. And that's a huge relief to know that I'm my own problem and it's not everything else. So yeah, I'm glad to be back. And yeah, I just wanted to say hi and like brag. Yeah, that feels good to have a place to do that again.
I love it. I love it. So gap gain thinking, I'm just going to draw this out because I know this again, it's repetitive. So who's heard me teach gap gain thinking? Raise your hand. I just want to see. Okay, great. So does anyone want to describe it? And I'll draw it out. What is gap versus gain thinking? Don't worry. I won't like make you feel wrong. We can guess at it.
It's something like where you place your focus, where if I'm focusing on the gap between where I am and I want to be, then that's an endless trudge towards a never receding horizon. Whereas if I focus on where I was and where I am now, that's focusing on the gain. And I realize, oh my goodness, I've come so far and my daily habits are like this, and I no longer have this issue. And that makes it easy to take the next step and the next step. Something like that.
Very well done, David. So it's exactly that. So it's how we measure. How are we measuring our progress? And this is why when I'm like, what's your brag? Everyone should have a brag. Even if you're like, I watched the first lesson, I outlined my offer, right? Because from the past self, you didn't have an offer. We're about to launch this big campaign on social and to our list for wellness pros. We have about 13,000, I think, on our list of wellness pros. And we're going to do this mass education campaign that's called Your Best Offer Ever. Because what we find is that most wellness pros are not aware that they don't have an offer. They have a lot of transactional ways of working, meaning you pay me this money, I'll work for you for this thing, I'll do this thing. So it's not based on the transformation, it's based on the transaction. So if you're paid hourly for a private, if you're paid for a consultation, if you're paid for a training, right, where it has a start date and an end date, that is more transactional. So if you don't have an offer that's transformational, right, that means that that's the first thing to do. So if all of you, who has an offer, like who actually has packaged their, right? And can you see Valerie, Rachel, Jackie, remember when you didn't have an offer? Yeah, there was there was no upsell. It's another language that we use in marketing and sales. There was no upsell. If someone wanted to go through a more transformational experience with you, you were like, you can just book another hour, right? And then it's up to the client to determine their path. So with transformational, it's up to the wellness pro to determine the path. Just like if you need knee surgery, the doctor's going to say, well, this is what you're going to need, and then you're going to need rehab, right? So the doctor's determining the path. So in Wellness Pro Academy, what we do is like the first thing we do is like, we're going to build your offer. And your offer is only going to get better and better and better over time, right? It's only going to get easier to know that you want to sell more of your offer because it's the best solution you have for transformation. It's the best solution you have to guide people from their past self to their future self. That's your offer. So everyone has a brag because everyone has done something on working on the offer. Some of you are building it, some of you are selling it, but you're all offer aware. And that's huge, 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 huge. How did it feel, Valerie, to sell your first offer?
I mean, it felt amazing. And that was a really good sales call. It was super solid. And I got really deep with what she wanted to create, what pain she wants to work on and all of that. So if I can do all of my sales calls like that, I would be set.
You'll be set. And what's your member cap? Like how many members are you going for annually?
This year, I want to do 25.
Great. So chances are you need to have 50 to 75 calls just like that, and you'll fulfill member cap, which is a few a month, right? You just take that 75, divide it by 12, right? And then divide it by 4, and you've got like 1 or 2 calls like that a week, and you'll hit member cap. And you guys, that's really how it works. Is this thinking, it's super simple. It really is. But we just get stuck and we don't do the things that generate the 1 to 2 sales calls a week. Or we don't follow the closer framework. And then we just have a meandering conversation that doesn't end in client transformation. So I want to speak to what you just said, Valerie, because it's very rich. And this is something I learned in David Nagel's training. Let me see, give me a hot minute and let me see if I can pull it up, because I have a picture of it in a Google Doc from years ago. Otherwise I'll redraw it, but I won't redraw it as well. Okay, I'm not going to be able to find it that fast. So I'm going to draw it. And it's this. I'll draw it kind of like growth journey, depth journey. All right, so we have the evolutionary spiral, which is the desire to evolve. So everyone has an ideal. Everyone has an ideal future you. For some of the people you're talking to, it's layered under some ego structures. You know, you're talking to someone, you're like, everything's fine. And you're looking at them and you're like, but you're carrying an extra 100 pounds. So how's that working? Right. Some people really wear it externally and other people don't. Other people, you have to really dig, but you know something's off. You know it. You know that they want to evolve and that they're stuck. And it could be they're stuck in a job, they're stuck in a relationship. We had a come in Club Hero today. One of our amazing members, amazing in business, just sold her business. Relationship issues. And it's stuck. She doesn't really want to look at it, right? So you might be talking to someone and they're kind of interested in what you're doing, but they don't really want to talk about it. And up here is the surface. And down here is depth. So a sales conversation is where you mine for depth. And depth has gravity. And this is why we don't have these kind of conversations in casual places, and we don't have them on the fly. We schedule them. We create a container. Because if you're plunging for depth and gravity and there's not a container for the conversation, it feels unsafe, because it is unsafe. So that's why we schedule and we have a container, and the container is a set time on your calendar, and there's an agenda. There's an intention. And all of those build a container where you can have a conversation safely, even with a stranger, that orients towards depth. Now, you're talking to someone and you're like getting somewhere, and then all of a sudden you're back on the surface. And people do this. How do people bring the conversation? Let's crowdsource this. How in your sales conversations, or just in life, where you're like noticing you're in a transformational conversation and then all of a sudden you're back on the surface? How do we do this?
Use humor. Make a joke.
Make a joke.
Reverse the conversation and be like, anyways, how are you though?
Oh yeah. So reverse the conversation. So take the focus off me and put it back on you. So we'll say reverse the focus. Great. How else? Those are good.
Like when the person's like, well, yeah, I already started doing it. It's gonna manifest. I already started. Like I already have started doing the steps that are going to change things.
Right. How do we want to say that?
They say they're already working on it.
Great. So they don't have results. They're hopeful without results. Something like that. It's like false hope.
Or like false solutions. It's like this one is really familiar, where it's like, I already tried that. I'm already doing that. So it's a way to negate the value of what you're offering. Excuse me. And it sort of goes along with the thing that's coming to mind is minimization or dismissal. It's like the pain point isn't actually that bad.
Yeah, it's not that important.
And I'm already doing this strategy and it's fine and I'm getting by and it's no big deal.
Yeah.
All of these things are under the bigger topic of resistance.
Yeah.
So they're just resistant.
Yeah. So there's resistance as we go deeper, right? So we're plunging for depth, and there's levels and layers of the depth, and we hit a layer, right? We hit a layer, and all of a sudden there's resistance in that layer.
Yes.
It's just like when you're digging, anyone who's ever dug a hole And it's like, sometimes it's easy, and then all of a sudden you hit rock. Right? And your shovel bounces off the rock. Like it literally bounces off the rock. I watched this really great skit. I can't remember if it was Dave Chappelle. And he talked about like digging a hole. And he's like, oh my God, I never realized how easy my work was until I went to like actually like dig a hole. Cause like in digging a hole in the ground with a shovel, it's really hard work. I've done a lot of hole digging and I'm not very good at it because when you hit this layer, all you want to do is walk away because your shovel literally bounces off the rock. And that is exactly right. Resistance. You hit resistance. So then it's really easy to just be like, all right. I had the false hope. I had a conversation of false hope. What are those like 4 stages where you have it's uninformed optimism, informed pessimism. Does anyone know those 4 stages? So uninformed optimism is a bit of that false hope, right? They don't really know how hard it is going to be to lose the 100 pounds or to overcome the autoimmune issue or to start actually doing cryotherapy instead of just knowing everything about cryotherapy and breathing practices, right? To actually automate, right? They know what to do, but they're not doing it. And so they think it's going to be easier than it's actually going to be. So I had a conversation with someone the other day and she bought subscribed to a SaaS, a software as a service that was basically like Zoom with like a fancier cover on it. And they were selling it as this will solve all your business problems, right? You'll get more sales. You'll have more leads, like all these things. But when you actually looked at what it was just Zoom that you could embed in a website. It wasn't even an app. And she was like, oh, that'll solve all of my problems. I can quit my job and I'll have no problem making money. And I was like, that's Zoom with a new cover on it, right? False optimism. You see it every time. And sometimes when that happens, the best thing to do is follow up. So this is where you use your tracker and you just think of like, how long is it going to take until she's got informed pessimism? Because I want to go back and ask her how it's going. How is it going? With an open mind, super curious. Maybe it worked out. Maybe it is a quick fix, great pill, magic capsule, but maybe it's not. And I think everyone in here with the journeys that you have and the amount of experience you have in working with people know that it's not easy to do it alone and have the breakthrough and just rely on the technology, right? So sometimes you have to just wait for some of that false hope, schedule another conversation. Hey, how's it going? And if you know the goal, right? So again, back to the ideal, this is why the conversations start with like, where are we going? What's the goal? What's out of reach? Because if we don't know this, and if we don't know this with specificity, and it's, again, in gap and gain thinking, it doesn't mean you don't want to know the ideal. It just means you don't measure yourself from the ideal. You measure yourself from the past self, right? I am here now. So you talk to someone with false hope, right? And then you check in with them and more time has gone by. And then you're like, where are you now? Are you any closer to the ideal? And maybe they will be a half a step closer. Maybe they will have regressed. We don't know. But this is where anyone who's trained in sales know that all the money is in the follow-up. You have to have enough leads coming in, but all of the money is in the follow-up. It's all in the follow-up. And so you check in 2 months later, 4 months later, 6 months later, 8 months later, 10 months later, 14 months later, 3 years later. Someone's coming into WPA. I think her first conversation was 3 years ago. How's it going? Do you have an offer? No. Okay. Well, you could have joined 3 years ago and had an offer and gone through a sales process, figured out you don't have leads either, gone through a leads process, right? Built some structures and been there now. But it's okay. Because when someone is so over it because they're struggling and they're still not where they want to be, right? They're so much more likely because you've been there the whole time and you've been consistent, right? Be like, okay. And you show them the system that's working for other people. And then finally they're ready. Now those clients are the best because they're so sick of their own BS, right? And you've been there. So now they have so much trust. There's so much trust. So if that's happening, don't worry. If you hit false hope, just means follow up. Sometimes in the conversation, you can go through some of those levels of false hope. It just depends on the person because there might be so much resistance to reality. They just need more life experience before they're willing to make the change. Follow up email or the other way? Yeah, great question, Tatiana. The way that we've found it most successfully, and I learned this from Grace Edison. Some of you guys might remember Grace from back in the day. She was my salesperson for, I think, 5 years. And she would just keep notes. And she drove me crazy because she wouldn't put it in our CRM, our database. She'd just keep them on her phone. But she knew everyone's goal and everyone's pain points. So all she'd do is reach out and be like, have you gotten to the goal yet? If not, we should talk, right? You're trying to lose the 20 pounds. Have you lost the weight? If not, we should talk. So if we don't know the goal with specificity, right? And there's ways of doing it otherwise. Like, do you feel more nourished? You can do it in a really gentle way. It doesn't have to be like, sticking them with a knife in the ribs. It can be, hey, how are your kids? And let me know how you're doing towards the goal that you set. Like, it can be really gentle, but it's got to be specific. How are your kids? Name 1, name 2. How are you doing towards the goal? X goal that you set. And that's the way. So it can't be super general. It can't feel like AI. It's got to feel like you and I had a conversation. We only got here. We only got to this level. So that's right where I'm going to go back. How are we doing towards this? Exactly what this level is, right? Have you gotten through that? So if in the conversation, and this is really, I picked this up through David Nagel, who does a lot of wealth breakthrough work, is whenever it goes to the surface, they just go right back to the depth. And then the client will bring it to the surface, and then they just bring it right back into the depth. Because the sale, just like Valerie pointed out, the sale happens down here. There has to be enough pain to change. So the sale happens in the depth. So if you're having these conversations and you're like, we're back on the surface, you're not going to make a sale, which means the client won't actually make the transformation that they want to make. So it has so much less to do with the sale. The sale is just the way the transformation can happen, right? So it's always about the transformation. Your worth, what you are worth, is the value of the transformation that you can guide. You can't guide the transformation unless they're committed. They can't be committed without a point of sale.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just keep repeating this over and over again. I get them. They're interested. They go deep in their exploration. They set the follow-up appointment for, 3 to 5 days later. They cancel the appointment time and time and time again. It's happened so often.
Oh, okay, great. So what you do then is before you finish the call, you ask, what will stop you from showing up? Oh, nothing. Oh, no. What will stop you, right? Oh, nothing. Surface. What is that one? Do we have that one? False hope, negation, dismissal, people pleasing? Something like that?
I think it's people pleasing. They don't want to, they like you. They don't want to, embarrass themselves by saying, I'm really not interested in this, but they can do it so easily with an email. That's what I get. I get the email. I'm not really, we don't have to do that meeting next week. I've decided I'm not doing your program, but thanks so much for all the time that you do. That's like at time and time again.
Great. So if you know it's people pleasing, right? It's like, kind of wait until they'll say that. Like, what are they going to say? What will stop you from showing up? We can kind of role play this for a minute, or we can all just jump in. What will people say in response to this?
I've talked to my husband and he said no. Well, that would be one thing.
Great, because that's depth. Because now we have something real on the table.
Another thing is like, I'm not ready to make this kind of commitment. I talk to a lot of retirees. I am so happy not having structure in my life, and I want to have the freedom. I'm traveling in the spring and the fall to Europe. This looks like too much commitment. Like when I was working, I really like my freedom. So I don't do anything that long.
But that's different than what will stop you from showing up. That's a good objection. So that's a good objection. And how would someone respond to that objection? I mean, I know what I would say, but how would someone here respond to that objection in a sales conversation?
I would clarify that the time commitment is really actually not anything close to what it was when you were working. It's like the hour, 2 hours.
I wouldn't answer it that way, but it's not that's wrong, but I would go somewhere else.
Ask them a question as far as what is too much for you.
Nope. This is good. I'm glad we're doing this. This will help. This is good. We just hit a level, right? We just hit a level. We just hit resistance in our own self and sales conversation. So this is good. We're exactly where we need to be to have higher conversion rate. Higher conversion rate means more people get healthy, you guys. Like more people are living in their better future self. And because health is contagious, it means society gets healthier. So we have a deep why as wellness pros to making sure that we convert the right people into our clubs. So what is the question?
So, I mean, it would be something like you would gain time back, or you would gain time from everything that you're struggling with now. And you would save time by being in the program because you're going to get to your goals faster.
Yeah, I agree with you, but there's something else that has to happen here. We're in an inflection point. So the conversation's going to go one of two ways, because now you're going to defend your program. So Valerie and Rachel are defending their program, right?
Hey.
Which we don't want to do that. Go ahead, Ted.
Thank you. I mean, I kind of had that this afternoon with the person I was talking to, and I just called him out on it. I told him, I said, you need to figure out what and you also need to figure out what you want in life.
Okay.
Once you figure those two things out.
What was the first thing? It broke up. So I heard what you want in life, but what was the first one?
What he's being resistant to. I just pointed out as resistance. I said, you're being resistant to something. You need to figure that out.
Okay. And then it went to,
so it was pretty
you
direct.
have to figure out what you want in life, which brings us back to, what is this? What is this? What is this with specificity, right? So if we go, sorry, that was the wrong. Okay. So the ideal next self is specific. So let's go back to Jackie now. And we'll say so we'll use the email cancellation person who doesn't have time, doesn't want the structure. What do they actually want?
They want to lose weight. They want to feel less pain in their body. They want to have more energy.
Okay, great. So we'll use those things. We've got weight, we've got pain, and we've got energy. So now we're going to go to a scale. We need to get really specific. How much weight do they want to lose?
10 to 20.
Let's get specific.
20 pounds.
Okay, they want to lose 20 pounds. Scale, pain on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being no pain at all in the body. 1 being like, I can't fucking move when I wake up. Like, it's hard to get going.
So where are they right now, you mean?
Yep.
Pain is, so if you're going 10 is the least, I would say they're like 8, 7.
Okay, so 10 out of 10 means no pain at all. 7 out of 10 means they have a little bit of pain?
Yeah.
They have a little bit of pain. Okay, and where do they want to be?
They want to be 10 out of 10.
And they want to be a 10 out of 10. Okay, great. Energy is what on a scale of 1 to 10?
They're at maybe 4 or 5, and they want to be a 10. 8.
Okay, so they're at 4 out of 10, and they want to be a 10 out of 10. Okay, great. What's it worth to them to feel this way? So now that we know what, right, we have to get specific. So we need to know, and it's not just general what, it has to be exact. We have to know exactly what we're talking about. And often I find that, so this part of the conversation goes too fast. And this is the part of conversation, those of you who study Ayurveda, you know that depth is slow. Things move faster through the air than they do through the earth, right? Elon has a company where they make tunnels under cities, right? It's fucking slow going. Like, they need big ass, insane. If you've seen the machinery, it's insane how much power it takes to move through earth. Whereas moving through air, right? The birds do it. But that birds go so much faster than the earthworms, right? So we go slow, really slow, and we find out exactly what. And once we know what, we need to know what is it worth, because there has to be sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
We have to make the goal sacred, right? I'm going to draw that one out, you guys. So here's the future self, and the future house has very specific goals. So we know what we're aiming for. Everything else is sacrificed. And in sacrifice, the goal, which is really the future self, becomes sacred. Now, if we're not orienting towards depth and understanding that there's going to be a sacrifice in terms of time and money, always. Mm-hmm. So the sacrifice in terms of time and money has to be worth it, because the future self has to be just put on that pedestal, and it has to be believable, right? And this is where telling client stories is so important. Telling your own story is so important. Sometimes, though, what happens is we know the weight, we know the pain and the energy, but we don't really know what it's worth. How does it change their life? So we'll use this woman, and we may or may not know the answers to the question. We can make up the answers to the question for now. What is it worth? What changes in her life? What would change if you were 20 pounds lighter?
She'd feel amazing. She'd feel energized. She would feel beautiful in her clothes, sexier. She would feel more confident.
Great. Does she have grandkids?
I think so.
How does it change her relationship with her grandkids?
She is more active with the grandchildren.
And what is she demonstrating to the grandkids about old age?
Like, aging doesn't have to be a decline.
Great. Is she more fun?
Yep.
Is that important to her? So you guys, in this population, anyone with an over 60 population where there's grandchildren involved, it's not about them, right? It goes straight to legacy, and they are demonstrating the entire genetic lineage. They are the patriarch and the matriarch. If they're still living, they're in that role. And old people are not fucking dying, and it's driving the Gen Xers crazy because they can't lead, because the old people won't die. So it's like, how are they leading? How are you? Thanks, Dad. I appreciate that smile. Kind of joking, right? But it's kind of a problem. When you look at Biden, it's kind of a problem, right? It's kind of a problem. We have some problems. But what we can do is say,
I just signed up for Medicare this week, so easy on the old stuff.
No, hard on the old stuff. It's like, you get to now, no, it's so important, right? It's like, what do you want? How do you want to lead? You're an elder, right? You're an elder. There's responsibilities. And what Jackie's saying is that her clients are checking out.
Don't check out.
Don't check out.
Oh, so we've got
to
give
find
up.
what matters more than checking out, because everyone around them's checking out, and they're all carrying the extra 20 pounds, and they're all modeling chronic inflammation for their grandchildren, and they're all having trouble getting on the floor. They don't have good connection with their grandchildren, and it hurts. Now we found pain. So you cannot make a sale unless someone's loaded. And if they're loaded and they're just going in there, they won't do the work, right? So you won't have the gratification of actual transformation. You have to get to pain. You have to get to pain. If you haven't gotten to enough pain, you cannot make the sale, which means they don't get the transformation. Okay, go ahead, Jackie. Something clicked.
It's like, this is one after another. I just talked to a 54-year-old woman who wants to have a baby. I don't know how to do that. It's going to be, God bless her. She's going to try in vitro, and it's going to be very expensive. It's going to be really hard on her body. And she said, fibroid surgery. I just like, and I want to support her. And I said, we don't know about this goal. This goal is amazing. It's audacious, but your body's going to need a lot of support. Well, you do. Like, I can't spend the money on this. I said, this is what you need to spend the money on, so that your body is able to do the miracle you're asking.
Right. And you guys, when we're doing this, we are defending. Can't defend and make a sale. Tatiana, you're in sales, aren't you?
I was.
Any insights here around this, like this, when we're defending the product, the service, the program?
I mean, yeah, the whole vibe, like the energy gets defensive and is not receptive. So the other person is going to is shocking. So you're trying to defend, and the other person is also like, not trying to defend their own point. So it's not going to go anywhere. Yeah.
Thank you. Good. So it's not going to go anywhere. So if we're saying things that is creating that, where we're trying to convince, right? It's off. Something's off. We haven't really discovered the pain. We haven't discovered how important is this baby, right?
She burst into tears when she told me her goal. So I know it means a lot to her.
Yeah, great. So now we know there's a space between exactly what it's going to take in this situation, 54-year-old who wants to have a baby, right? What is going to need to be sacrificed, like, so that the goal can become sacred? What is she going to need to be able to do in order to heal her womb, become pregnant, carry a baby, and mother a baby at 54? So the more we get into that, and on a scale of 1 to 10, like, how well are you nourishing yourself? On a scale of 1 to 10, like, what does your morning routine look like? Where we really get into, like, how much sleep are you getting? Like, all of these things, right? We may have a better sense of what is going to need to change and what would change if she was super dialed in with her habits. Like, all the things you could show her to do and guide her to do. So there's a book. Has anyone read Sell the Feeling? It's an old school book. You read it, Juliet. Do you want to describe a little bit about the concept and Sell the Feeling?
I read it a long time ago, but the concept was basically, I think it had to do with a guy who was selling cars or something. And it was basically, instead of selling, just telling a story. And the story was kind of what would hook people, right? And it was getting people to feel a certain way with the story was the gist of it, I believe.
Okay. So the feeling is what converts. So there's this idea that when you're selling, the feeling is what causes people to buy, and then the mind will rationalize the purchase. But really, we're sold based on the feeling that we get. So how would she feel? Let's say she's low energy and has pain, and say she's not, her body's really not receptive to becoming pregnant, et cetera. And like, we can kind of see that there's going to be a lot of problems. Like, how would she feel if her womb was healed? How would she feel if her routines were nourishing to sustain a pregnancy? How would she feel if these habits that she had helped her postpartum, so that she could really raise a baby with grounded awareness and relaxed and centered? Like, how would she feel? And so you bring someone into the feeling of, and this is, what is it worth to change? What would change? You'd feel beautiful. Great. Let's take a moment and feel 20 pounds lighter. What does your body feel like? So this is where a lot of you have a lot of training in somatics, and you want to use somatics in sales. You want to help them get in touch with their future self, right? Their ideal next self. You want to help them feel that. How would it feel? Okay, now we know what you want to invest in. What's it worth? And then we're back to what's it worth. Once we know how we want to feel when we're at the future desired state, we know what it's worth. We know what it's worth to get there. We know it's going to take a sacrifice. We know we need to, because whatever we're doing right now, we haven't sacrificed enough because we're not there. We're not there yet. We're in pain, carrying the weight, showing up to the grandkids, all kind of bloated. We're bringing sugar to the grandkids, right? We're enrolling them in the sugar program. We're buying shit on Amazon, sending it to the grandkids. I know this because of Coaching Club Thrive. There's all these moms that just get too much stuff from the grandparents because the grandparents are trying to fill in the gap of integrity with stuff, right? It's painful. It's painful on all sides. Kids don't even want stuff these days. They already have enough stuff. All right, so we're out of integrity. We need to make a sacrifice. We need to make the goal sacred. How sacred is the goal? How much do you want it? Because people don't like to contradict themselves. You've all heard this in Alex Hormozi's training. People don't like to contradict themselves. So if we know what the goal is worth, what is it worth? There has to be a sacrifice. It's mythic. This is a mythic goal. They're on a hero or a heroine's journey. What is it worth? What's it worth? Everyone's got the same 24/7, 365. Lots of people, and you guys know some of these people, they spend money in a different way than you do, and they get what they want. They get what they want right now, right? Because they've made it most important. They're so curious where it goes. So we can say these things. We can ask these questions, and all these questions are going to bring us to gravity. What have you tried that hasn't worked? Okay, So what is it worth? We're going to go back to the woman who you get the email from, right? Like, what's it worth? She's 20 pounds later. She feels confident. She looks beautiful. She's on the floor with the toddlers. She's having the time of her life. She never thought she could feel this good. Habits compound. So it's not just feel this good this year, it's feel this good the year after and the year after and the year after and the year after. Like for most of my people in Club Thrive sales conversations, I'm getting the worth value for 10 years in the future, because what I know from coaching for decades is that the payoffs just keep coming, right? You automate these habits, just keeps getting better. You automate fast mimicking diet, the stuff we do in primal habits, body thrive habits, you automate these habits, it keeps getting better. The payoffs just keep coming. So what's it worth? What's the investment worth? And you get a number. You get a $ number. So if you're having trouble, it's like you get to that number and you really sit with it. Okay. What would she say and what's it worth? What's it worth? You're 20 pounds later. You have 10 out of 10 energy. You're having fun with your grandkids. What's it worth? What would she say? What do people say to this question, you guys?
Priceless.
Priceless, right? That's what they all say. It's priceless. Is that surface or depth?
Surface.
Surface. Say, well, the unfortunate thing is we spend money on things to get results. So you're going to have to make an investment. What are you willing to invest to get those results? They're going to squirm. People don't know how to answer this question. They know how much money to spend on a car. They know how much money to spend on a house. They know how much money to spend on their child's education. They know how much money they're willing to spend in a restaurant, but they don't know how much money to spend on themselves, AKA invest, to have the experience they want to be having in this lifetime. It's a problem. And you guys are the warriors on the forefront of this problem. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that culture has set it up this way, but we are. So we have to put a number on it. We have to help them put a number on it.
I think it's a matter of asking them what their priorities are and where their values are and how integral they are with it. Because if her most important thing would be to lose those 20 pounds, she would do anything. But if it's not, then she might not. So she might spend that money in something else, maybe eating him and getting him heavier.
Yep. You can find where the money's going, right? You can find where the money's going. But if we don't put a price on it, it's apples to oranges. So you can throw a number out there. And I would go, the way they teach us in sales is you start with a number that's at least 3 times higher than the cost of your program. So say your program, like Ted's, is $5,500. You'd start with, is it worth $20,000? Is it worth $20,000 to you? Because you're going to have to make an investment. You're going to have to make a sacrifice, because whatever you're doing, you've just told me all the ways it's not working. You hear the depth? This is not a fun conversation. We're not like joking about having another sugar cookie, right? It's a hard conversation. It's hard to do this. It's hard to put a price on the price list. So what would she put on it? What would she put on it, Jackie? If you pushed her like this, where would it go?
20 grand.
Yeah. So now we have a number. 50. Great. And if we don't, Tatiana, like say she says like it's worth $1,000. It's like, okay, how much is your car? How much is your house? How much was your last vacation to Europe? You're talking to New Yorkers, right? They might not have a car, but they might be taking fancy vacations. So this is where we haven't even made an offer yet, you guys. Just for the record, we have not made an offer. This is all before. We have to know what it's worth before we make an offer. This is slow. It's really slow. It's annoyingly slow because you're just hitting resistance. And when you're digging with that shovel and like you're working as hard as you can to get through this layer, it's really slow. Like you get a little bit out of the hole and then you get a little bit out of the hole and then all of a sudden you've broken through and now you have a number and you realize like someone took the time to help me learn how to invest in the future I want to experience. And then you can say, well, that's good that it's $20,000 because that means I can coach you for the next 4 years of your life and you're going to feel amazing in 6 months. And then it's just going to get better and better and better and better. And you only have to make a year commitment. So it's only going to cost you the $5,500. Now, what's going to stop you? Right? And that's the same question here is what is going to stop you from showing up? And you have to talk this through. You're just excavating at this point. They're into it. They're excavating their shadow issues. You've gone through so much shadow. Now it actually gets light often. And they'll start joking around. They'll be like, well, my husband, because he has no idea. I'm like, well, does your husband care that you're 20 pounds overweight? How much overweight is he? Is he afraid of dying of heart disease? Because if she's overweight, he's overweight 9 times out of 10, right? And it's like, are you allowed to spend money on your own? Are you allowed to invest in yourself? Most people will not say they're not allowed to invest in themselves in a relationship. And if you don't ask them that straight up, are you allowed to invest in yourself? They'll say yes, because they won't contradict themselves. Later down the road, they won't say, my husband won't let me invest in myself. If not, right? If they're not, and Hormozy has a ton of training on this on YouTube. Just watch more and more and more Alex Hormozy training, and you'll hear all these objections. And there's a ton in our sales conversations where he goes through it, right? Where you hear him ask these questions. So it's like, oh, I got to check with my husband. Then great. Next question. Are you allowed to invest in yourself? What would happen? His question, word verbatim, is what would happen if you made this investment on your own? Do you think your wife would be okay with it? Do you think your husband would be okay with it? It's a really interesting question, right? Where we're not afraid of going to the next level of rubble, right? Because we're just going to hit the next level of rubble there, right? And they're going to have to be like, there's a huge realization I had and I made my own money. I mean, my whole life I've made my own money. I would run things by Winston. To spend my money, I would run things by Winston. Like if I'm spending $20K in a coaching program, I mean, it's like a car, right? I'd run it by Winston. Like, do you think this is a good idea? He was like the worst person to run it by because he had no idea of what I was investing in and my future potential and what I could do with it. I was so much more informed on the investment than he was. It took me 10 fucking years to break that habit, or longer. Honestly, we've been together forever. It took me at least 15 years to break that habit. That's a long time for someone who's awake as I am. But it's an encultured pattern. So anything that's encultured, you're going to lose sales of people that would change their lives forever if they just got into your program. And I say that with so much confidence because I see it time and again. I honestly get testimonials like every other day, like this. We haven't worked together in 10 years. It just changed my life forever. So I speak with confidence, and you guys are no less qualified than I was 10, 15 years ago. I promise you that. There's no special sauce in me with that as a healer. Okay, so now we know what it's worth. Now we've asked hard questions. What's going to stop them? We've asked hard questions like how, can you make this decision on your own? Can you invest in your future body with your own money? And you might get a no, we make decisions together. Then it's like, okay, great. Then we should make sure that, and we record all our calls. We should make sure that if this is really important to you, to get to the goal, not to be in the program. It's never about the program. It's always about the future self. It's always about the goal, and it's always about overcoming the pain. And it's always about making the right sacrifice to get to the goal. It's always about that. It's never about your program. You have nothing to defend in your program. You are defending their future self. You are speaking for their future self. You've gotten so specific, you know exactly what it is. Does your husband want you to be this future self, or does he want you to be stuck? Help them think it through. They don't know how to think it through. That's why they're 20 pounds overweight. That's why they have joint pain. That's why they have low energy. That's why it's harder to get on the floor with the grandkids. And that's why they bring the sugary treats and the Amazon shit over to the house. They don't know how to invest in the future they want. So you slow it down, you break it down, you ask them all the hard questions. Okay, you now are on to they need to think about it. And they might legitimately. I incentivize them to think about it quicker. So it's like, this is what the investment is. If you make the decision in 48 hours, this is the price break. Why? Because I know if you procrastinate, you're never going to get to your ideal future self. So I want to help you make the smarter decision. So then the follow-up call should be within 48 hours, if possible. If that person is not the only decision maker, it should be at a time when the decision makers are on the phone. This happens in every corporate negotiation. Are the decision makers in the room? If not, we don't schedule the next call. It is a big investment. Your future self is worth a big investment. Let's make sure that everyone that's interested in your future self is in the room so we can make a good decision, not defending the program. Okay, good? Is that helpful? Yeah? Some of you guys just need to listen to this again and again and again. And when you listen, you're like, am I doing it? It's not, do I know this? It's, am I doing it? And it's okay to have a script with some questions in front of you.
Kate, as long as you've gone this far, can you give an example of your offer that you're offering them within 48 hours and go through that whole close?
Yeah. So I usually go right to demo. So we now know what the issues are. Let me just pull up a tab and let's go into school. Okay. So in what I do in the process, so somewhere in the process, when we know what their goals are, and we know, when I know, I often will do demo before offer. So right now we're going to do my B2C, which is Club Thrive. Okay. So 20 pounds overweight. I'm like, well, if you work with us, I only work with people in one way, because I get people through the transformation, and it's a year-long commitment, because I know that in 3 months you're going to hit a wall, and your breakthroughs are going to happen at 6 months. They're going to happen in 3 months, but they're also going to happen 6 months, 9 months, and a year. We have an over 50% resubscription rate. And we do that for a reason, because people want to stick around because it's working. They don't want to go somewhere else because it's working, and they love the momentum that they have. So for you, like, some of the hardest things are going to be restoring rhythm. You're off in your circadian rhythm and you have chronic inflammation. So you're going to live in rhythm for the first 3 months. You're just going to live in rhythm. We have rhythm sessions every week, and you're just going to live in rhythm until we hit a level where you can go into healing, right? Because once you go into rhythm deep enough, you're going to crack a surface, and you're going to be able to go into deep healing. And then you're going to go right into core 3, and you're going to be with Claudia and Sarita, and you're going to attend all of those calls. And you're going to do our detoxes, and you're going to do our fast mimicking diets. And don't worry, we have momentum. So just by joining, you'll just get sucked into it. It'll be easier than you think. Doing it alone is really hard. And you've been trying to do it alone, and we already ascertained that that's what's not working.
Are you a podcast listener ready to guide your wellness business to more profit? We have an exclusive offer just for you, introducing our Unique Abilities Profit Consultation. Sign up today at wellnesspro.academy/unique. Don't miss this opportunity to unlock your profit potential. During this personalized consultation, your expert coach will guide you to discover just how much money you're leaving on the table from an outdated business model. Say goodbye to trial and error and hello to tailored guidance that leverages your unique abilities. Your success coach will work closely with you to create a winning strategy that aligns with your strengths and vision. Don't let the challenges of running a wellness business hold you back from more profit any longer. Up-level your leadership with our actionable strategies. Overcome hurdles. Receive innovative solutions. Take that crucial step towards building the profitable wellness business you deserve. Schedule your free Unique Abilities Profit Consultation today. But hurry, this exclusive offer is only free for our valued podcast listeners. Don't wait. Unleash your unique abilities and unlock your true profit potential. It's time to make your mark in the world of wellness. Sign up today at wellnesspro.academy/unique. Namaste and have a great day.